Hey folks, it's Nate, and it's time I went back to the drawing board. And today, I want to talk about a little something I thought of when I was watching one of EVS's recent live streams. In it, Nasser Rabadi was upset with one of the other creators in the chat. I think it was Ben Hennessy. Don't quote me. And he was upset because Nasser had given this other creator a script to look over, and the other guy said, it looks pretty good. So Nasser went ahead and he put it in production. And they found out later that the other creator he had been talking to had seen errors in it, but he hadn't said anything because he was trying to be nice. That pissed Nasser off. Why did it piss him off? Well, because he had taken a flawed product and he had already put it into production when there was something he could have done to make it better. Now he had wasted that time with the product in production that he could have been spending fixing it. And this is an excellent example of a little engineering maxim that I think that creatives, especially in indie comics, could really benefit from thinking about. And that maxim is fail faster. What that means is you suck. Your ideas suck. They're unrefined. They have rough edges. Your characters are not as cool as you think they are. Your plot is not as smooth or as well oiled or as innovative as you think it is. Your dialogue is not as snappy or as memorable as you think it is. Your art has bad composition and tangents and all the kinds of flaws in it. And you need to get it out there and get it looked at and find those flaws as fast as possible. So the best way to do that in engineering is to take your design and just stress test it. See if your walls can hold the weight of the roof, can stand up to the wind that you expect, are going to withstand an earthquake if you're building in an earthquake zone, that kind of thing. And engineers will just go through test models and prototypes as fast as they possibly can. And when they find a flaw, they will just fix that one flaw and then test it to make sure that the flaw is actually fixed before they go on and they see what kind of impacts they've had on the rest of their design. The idea is to just churn through things as fast as you possibly can so that you can find all of these flaws and fix them in the shortest possible time. Now, creative people, they like to really hone and refine their work before they share it with other people. That's a bad idea, just straight up. Because if you have a flaw in your story idea at the outline stage, it's still going to be there by the time you have written out your entire story as a script or as prose or as however you write. If you are an artist, and you're trying to do compositions, you're going to have flaws that you can catch in the layout stage that will still be there if you don't catch them and you just try and go straight to pencils and inks. Here's an example. This is a page I was working on. I'm thinking of submitting a story to Narwhal's Megaton book that he's thinking about writing called The Guardian. And look at this panel here. The emphasis of this panel is supposed to be on the Guardian saving a boat from sinking. And what's the thing that you see biggest in the foreground? The boat. This story is not about the boat. This story is about the Guardian. So my composition here is all off, and I'm going to have to rethink it before I actually do this page. And if I had spent more than 10 minutes, if I had actually drawn this out as a fully detailed pencil page, it would have taken me probably 45 or 50 minutes just to lay down the rough pencils. And since I just did a quick layout here, 10 minutes, I catch the error, I've saved 30 to 40 minutes just because I did the layouts. That's failing faster. And you need to do this at every stage of your creativity. If you have an outline, you need to get that outline looked at, not just by you, but by someone else. Admittedly, it can be very hard to find these people to collaborate with because most indie creators have other jobs. They're very busy working on their own projects. You're going to have to find someone who will set up a reciprocal relationship with you. You scratch their back, they scratch yours. You review their work, you critique their work, you find the flaws in their work so that they can remove them and build up their work, and they will ideally do the same for you. So you need to do it with your outline, you need to do it with your scripts, you need to do it with your layouts, You need to do it ideally all the way up to the final inks and the lettering stage. At every stage, you need to be looking for these flaws, and you need to do it as fast as possible. Just iterate. Sometimes maybe you go through 2 or 3 sets of layouts, and before you even show them to someone else, that's fine too. But don't move on from the layout stage until you've gotten feedback from someone else, if you can possibly help it. There's lots of group chats popping up. There's all kinds of opportunities for this. I think we're in a very exciting time in indie comics. You have things like the Writers Room on Narwhal's channel, Doug's Bigfoot Bill inking things. There's a lot of downtime. If you get in the chat there, I'm sure it's really easy to ask for advice. He's already thrown out some pretty good pieces of advice, and just in what I've seen, I do not have time to watch everything he does. So that's another opportunity there to just pick up basic tips. But you really need to find someone to collaborate with if you can. And I'll be the first to admit I'm not perfect here. Like I swap ideas back and forth with some people I know, but we're busy people. We can't always get to each other's ideas very quickly. There's not always time to, swap ideas back and forth before we move on. But as if you're really looking at having a serious go at indie comics, you need to work out a system that will let you fail as quickly as possible, as much as possible. Don't let your ego, don't let perfectionism cut in on your opportunities to expose yourself to really good criticism. If pain is weakness leaving the body, then the embarrassment you feel at failure is your laziness and your lack of skill leaving your mind. You really need that if you want to go full time. And I think there are a lot of people who would, myself included. But yeah, there are many stages in the creative process, and if you take your time with them, you will ironically go faster. There's a saying I've heard from some ex-military guys that slow is smooth and smooth is fast. So yeah, just really work at cranking out your outlines, your layouts, and your rough drafts of your script, and don't overdo it. I'm sure that as you get more experienced, you will get better at finding out where is the point where we've done as much iteration and refinement as we possibly can. I've heard Doug TenNapel say like he's done 90 drafts of some scripts, and he eventually wound up just trashing them. And that's going to be part of it too. You're going to have ideas that you think are good at first, and as you start to work on them and as you start to refine them, you realize this idea really isn't that good, and you just have to trash it. Your boy Zach talked about doing that with Flashbang, I think was the name of the comic he was working on with Ibai Canales as a kind of follow-up to Iron Sights. He just took it and he pitched it because he realized that the script just wasn't working and he wasn't going to be able to do something that he was really satisfied with. And that's part of failing faster too. You may reach a point as you work to iterate your ideas and work out the flaws that you just can't fix the flaws that are in your idea right now. Maybe you need to stick it in a drawer. You need to let it sit for a few months and come back to it with a fresh set of eyes. Maybe you just need to trash the whole thing. By and large, I don't recommend completely trashing anything. I'm going to do a video on never wasting your scraps later, but I would, just hang on to your ideas, but accept that maybe you're not going to be able to use them in the form you had wanted to, because sometimes the pieces are better than the whole. But yeah, the heart of fail faster is to find the flaws and get rid of them as fast as possible, as ruthlessly as possible. So that's the takeaway for today. There's a like button and a subscribe button down below. Use them as you see fit, and I'll talk to you later.